Welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast, the podcast for high-performing hearing care clinics that want to learn the strategies, ideas, and truths behind some of the smartest private practice clinics in the world. Now, time for your hosts, Phil M. Jones and Ollie Luke.
Welcome to the Business of Hearing podcast. And once again, I'm joined by Sir Philip Jones. And this is going to be interesting because, look, Phil, we talk often and we talk about the same mistakes and the same frustrations we have and how we can best navigate them and help people to address them. And I think this episode will be a good opportunity to talk about some of the mistakes that are made, or some of the things that drive us crazy, some of the things that grind our gears, and look at how we can make some quick fixes to many of these. So I suppose, give us a starting point. What's one thing that jumps to mind that drives you crazy that you see happening often within this industry?
Well, the biggest thing that drives me crazy is people calling me Philip other than my mother. So I'll catch you out on that one, first of all, from the get-go.
You're welcome.
No, my friends can call me Phil, which means everybody listening in is a friend of mine. And one of the big mistakes is I've had the foresight of being able to see this industry from the outside since like 2010, 2011. And the mistakes that I saw then are still ever present, existing today. There has been a handful of moments of change, but en masse, those changes haven't kicked up. You asked for one. If I'm to think about how many there are, like I could probably go forever, but there are three that are certainly bigger than most. So where to start? One I remember really quite specifically. When I was asked to deliver my first sales training piece of work in the hearing care space, I got given a list of verbiage of things to use so I don't upset people. And one of the listed verbiage is remember that they're not customers, they're not clients, they're patients. And at the time, from a medical point of view, I'm like, I get that. Yeah, they're patients. I get that. And then as I've learned more and more about the industry, and particularly when you think from a marketing point of view and that you want to be able to grow your organization, I don't think anybody wants to be called a patient, because if they're a patient, they are sick. So they might be patients internally once you have them scheduled, when speaking with your staff, when you're speaking with your front desk, when you're speaking with your co-workers. But when you think about how you set your stall out from a marketing point of view and you're looking to grow your organization, by calling everybody you work with a patient, is you're asking somebody if they are to see themselves in that, they're going to have to see themselves as broken or sick. The pivot on that becomes in all of your marketing copy, instead of writing about how you help patients, change your language to how you help people. And moving from patients to people puts you into a situation where now the person reading your copy can see themselves in your scenario without feeling like they're broken. We live in an industry that hasn't grown in almost 30 years. The market share's moved around, but the number of people, the percentage of population that decide to be able to treat themselves for hearing loss still has stayed somewhere near the same. Why do I believe that is? It's because hearing aids are for old people. Hearing aids make you look old, and hearing aids are not aspirational or a part of life. If we can change more of our language away from patients and towards people, what happens is it becomes better accepted. Somebody isn't treating hearing loss because they're broken. They're treating hearing loss because they've lived a great life and they want to continue to live a great life. And I believe switching up your language, particularly in written copy, towards people from patients will be one big mistake resolved, giving you access to a wider net full of people where people are like, you could be for me. Because if you're just for patients, you're just for sick people, and anybody with a mild to moderate loss doesn't see themselves as sick. Ollie, does that make sense?
That makes sense, and I'm in complete agreement. And it really just takes a flip of the language and a flip of the story to make people. So, like most people say, we fix people's hearing loss, etc.
Yeah.
To be fixed, you need to be broken, and no one wants to be broken. But I think a flip of copy to be like,
over a period of time, people that have experienced a rich and fruitful life and have been to concerts and have worked alongside industrial machinery, have heard a gazillion sounds, etc., have found themselves in situations where range of their hearing has been eroded through a rich experience of sound.
And that's exactly it. In the same way, a car that gets driven fast often has to change the tires more frequently. Then, if you've had a fast-paced lifestyle, then your ears may have not been able to keep up with you.
I'm wearing my spectacles right now, right? And I've just upgraded to be an eyeglass wearer, and I don't want to feel like I'm a patient. And in my experience of doing business with my Optom, I didn't feel like I was a patient. I felt like I'd reached that point in my life where what I need is a little bit of help. And I've learned to be able to embrace and enjoy that process, because guess what? This gives me back more of what I was used to. That's what it gives me back. So there's the big mistake number one, is thinking that your customer base is broken people. That has you looking at just a very small group of people, talking to just a small group of people, and it says you're not for most people. What it means is that could be a very reason why somebody would choose to buy hearing devices from Costco, because Costco aren't making you feel like you're broken. It's like, I'm here with the convenience of doing other things for me to be able to get some aid to support me in another area of my life. So that would be the one. What would be a second big mistake, and it kind of builds on this, is almost every provider wants to believe that they are the hero of the story. And from a marketing point of view, it's a giant mistake. If you're listening to this right now, what I'd like you to do afterwards is go read the About Us page on your website and ask yourself, who's the hero of that story? And what you're probably going to read is, we've been established since 1984. We've been helping the people of so-and-so location to be able to overcome their hearing difficulties. We pride ourselves on, we earn our degrees at, we, right? This overuse of the word we means you quite literally we all over your customers. They're probably not going to like it. And we've got to be able to shift that positioning away from your brilliance and towards them being the hero of the story. This hero of the story thing echoes through on all marketing copy too, right? It's thinking about the images that exist. You're showcasing images of products. You're showcasing images of your providers. And there is no example of patience. If the patient is the hero of the story, potential new people will see themselves in the stories of the people that you've helped. That's a big, big difference. I'll try and give you a metaphor for this. Ollie, you're familiar with the Harry Potter books, Harry Potter movies?
I'm familiar. I am not a fan, but I'm familiar. You look, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to say I look a little like Harry Potter right now. Yeah, is that where you're going?
But then I thought that's not valuable to anybody else but me looking at right now.
Yeah, but you just give me a hard time. That might be valuable to people, that you just give me a hard time, which is fine. But if we're familiar with Harry Potter, there are some kind of key characters in the story. And I think seeing the roles of these characters can help us become better marketers. And I'm going to introduce you to 3 characters. And not so much characters. One has been personified, but one character is Harry Potter. The other character is Dumbledore. And then the third character is the Wand. Harry Potter is clearly the star of the show, right? It is the Harry Potter series of books. Harry Potter is the hero of the story, without question. Dumbledore is the learned greybeard. What Dumbledore is the guide. The third character, in being the Wand, is the thing that enables the power of the magic. When you are writing marketing copy, when you are talking about yourself, when you are sharing your success stories, many of you want to do it from the position of Harry Potter, where you're making yourself the hero of the story. I'm going to invite you to instead take the role of Dumbledore. Be the learned greybeard, be the guide, make your patient Harry Potter. And all of your writing, all of your communications are based on how you guide your hero towards achieving their quest. What is the tools that you have at your disposal? What is the wand? The wand is the products, the hearing devices that you have access to, the fantastic staff and experience that you have access to is the trick. That's the magic that is added to the hero under your guidance. That is the positional play of saying, how do you tell your story properly so people see value in your service? I ask people time and time again, what is the difference between you and people like you? And what almost all of them say is, it's our service, it's our service, it's our service, it's our service. And very few people are capable of dictating or annotating what is it about their service that makes them truly unique and different. So I'm asking people to do two things. One is start to talk more in terms of people as opposed to patients. Two is to say, I'm going to make that person the hero of the story with everything I write about and everything I talk about. So people are understanding my role is to guide them to be brilliant towards a better outcome. Ollie, what do you take from that as I share that, particularly the Harry Potter weird metaphor that I've just put across?
It was super weird, but it made complete sense. And this stuff isn't hard to do. It just requires work.
It is hard to do. And the reason that it's not hard for you to do because you've conditioned by this forever is, let's just take that we this, we that, we the other. I'd go as far as to say 75% of brands in the world continue to have a love myself type brand message.
Completely.
So it requires empathy. Conscious empathy. It requires your ability to step back and say, who am I writing this for? You see, most websites are written for the ego of the business owner, as opposed to be in service of somebody that might be needing help. And that is a conscious decision. Once you've made that conscious decision, once you remove we, me, I, our, us, name of your clinic, then all of a sudden you're forced into writing through a different lens. And it means being more journalistic. It means having a hero of the story. It means that you have to be a better author of content as opposed to somebody who writes about a static fact.
And I've been looking at the ways, building on that, of making the patient the star of the show. And sorry to use the word patient, but it's the easiest way to explain it in this.
And it could be a patient internally, right? It is fundamentally a patient once they've accepted treatment. However, prior to accepting treatment, which is what we're looking to talk to somebody before they've done business with us, they are a person before they're a patient. So they only become a patient once they've accepted treatment.
Very true. But look at the ways that documenting patient stories through the website, not a review, not them saying Dr. So-and-so is great, real stories of, here's where I was at, here's when I realized I may have a challenge with my hearing, here was my objection, which was stopping me from moving forward, I thought it was going to look old, the price, etc. Here's how I found my experience, and here's why I'm so happy I made that decision now. Them stories make the patient the star of the show. And they do a phenomenal job. Similarly, the patient mosaic of what's the main images on your website? Is it all your team stood there? And how can we make the patient the star of the show? By looking
hundreds of patients, right? Where's the evidence to prove it? Where is the photography of you working with patients? Where are the patient stories? Where is the evidence that says that this is what you've done? If the product is the hero, or if you are the hero, then your potential new customer is on the sidelines. That's the mistake. Third big mistake, which is probably the biggest of all, is everybody wants to talk about the cost of hearing aids. From potential new customer to yourselves, everybody wants to talk about the cost of hearing aids, and then they worry why they lose business to somebody who has cheaper hearing aids. I still find it absolutely fascinating that most clinics fit primarily binaural, yet when they have a mono scenario, mono is half the price of binaural, i.e. one hearing aid is half the price of two, which is ridiculous. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to understand that the service that we provide alongside it is the primary part of the value. We're trying to get people to see that it is service plus hearing devices, not hearing devices plus service. Yet the way we price things is indicating that the product is the star, the product is the thing that is worthy of all the money, and our service is a side dish. And our goal in changing this, getting away from this mistake, is to build productized service bundles that are inclusive of hearing devices. And this is what a restaurant does, right? They build a dish They don't give you a list of ingredients. They build a dish, and then they invite you to pay a price for that finished dish. And I think this is what more and more clinics should look to be able to do, is to say, what is my itemized service offering? What are the bullet points that go into it? What is it on a very granular level that I'm asking somebody to pay $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for? Because it isn't hearing devices, not alone. It is like a monologue of line items that somebody is going to buy in from you. From your multi-point treatment plan, from your fitting process, from your service proposition for when things go wrong, from your ongoing routine maintenance, from the level of support that you provide via remote, from whether you include batteries or chargers, how you're going to support somebody from a distance, warranties, aftercare, loss and damage guarantees, etc. These are all part of what you are providing to somebody for that price. And it's imperative that we move the conversation away from just the price of hearing devices. Because if it remains on the price of hearing devices, then what happens is you're going to keep losing to somebody who's cheaper for what is perceived to be the same. And you keep saying you're not the same. Yet if you fail to articulate the differences, the consumer doesn't understand the differences. They will assume you're all the same, left with the only thing to compare on is price, which means if you're not the cheapest, expect to lose more often. Apologize for my rant.
It's so true. Like, there's so many vultures circulating this industry that's been created because of this issue. And as soon as they can go in with a lower price, people are turning and running to them, because when it comes to a price v price comparison, it's a no-brainer if people think they're buying the same thing. So this is one thing that we're super passionate about establishing.
Yeah, and the independent private practice community has made this easy for people, is because they haven't done the work to say what are all the line items that go into our pricing, because they haven't been transparent with that level of pricing and what the difference is, then brands like the online retailers that show up and say, most independent private practices are $6,000 and here we are at $2,500 and saying it's the same, are winning because there's no counter argument from your content. They're saying we're doing the same for less. And you're like, but it's not the same, but you haven't explained what you are. You just try and explain what they're not. And you do that amongst yourselves as opposed to sharing that information with the wider public so that they can make more informed decisions. And I think this is work that needs to be done. So what am I inviting you to do from listening to this is take a look at everything you write about and ask yourself, are you talking in terms of patients or people? Patients are the people that have decided to accept treatment plans from you. So they're not necessarily the people you're talking to in your marketing material. Your marketing material should be people and not patients. The second thing is stop making the mistake of making yourself the hero of the story or the product the hero of the story. Patient should be the hero. So everything you produce in terms of marketing literature, does it make the potential person reading it feel like, should they're choosing to follow the instructions that you're laying down, that they will be the star of the show? And then thirdly, stop selling hearing devices. Just stop it. Stop talking about the cost of hearing devices. Stop talking about the price of hearing devices, and create productized packages that are inclusive of hearing devices, where there is clear value to the hero of the story, i.e. the consumer, in addition to hearing devices, so that they understand buying from you is different to buying from elsewhere. That's the work. And it might not be easy to do this. Yet everywhere we've done it, it's proved to be worth it. Ollie, has that been true based on your experience?
100%. With most of this as well, it's work that needs, to a degree, doing once, but constantly revisiting. And then it makes a world of difference. It's just doing the work once, which is the big stumbling block for many. That's it. So I think that wraps up this episode. You've ranted, you've raved, you've probably annoyed, but all with love, because there's a huge amount of risk if these things aren't addressed. And with all that said, I think we'll love you and leave you and call it the end of this episode. So thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.
And there we have it. That is a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Hearing podcast. Make sure you subscribe to be the first to know when a new episode goes live. If you're feeling kind enough to share your experience and leave us a 5-star review, it would mean the world to us. And if you want to learn more, then go to www.orange-grey.com for article guides and trainings specifically written for high-performing hearing care businesses. We look forward to speaking to you again soon.